Alrighty, we'll wait for some people to appear before we begin our lecture. Alrighty, welcome to Gabversity, where facts flushed feelings down the toilet. And now, today, we are talking about ethics, pure and applied research. This lecture is brought to you by patreon.com/gabsmacked, where you can subscribe for $1 a month, Australian, which is 70 cents American. It's hard. Well, jump on board, my friend. All right? And then you get access to heaps more scopes and private videos. That's the plan. Alrighty. So, to all of those who are already subscribed to Patreon, you are the reason I can keep doing this. Thank you very much. All right. So, last time we spoke about the greatest paradox, which is the definition of what a uni should be versus what it actually is. Alrighty. Let's see how much time we have left in battery power. Hey, King Whore is back. Welcome back, my friend. All right. Very cool bananas. All right, let's do this, man. Government promises to fund the basic science that peer reviewers find most worthy of support. And scientists promise in return that the research will be performed well and honestly and will provide a steady stream of discoveries that can be translated into new products, medicines, or weapons. All right. True science, according to Kovac, right, this is what we're reading, began to unravel in the 1990s because federal funding was unable to keep pace with scientific development, but also the increasing emphasis, hey, Helen's here, on commercializing the products of research. We need to look more closely at the traditional distinction between pure and applied research. All right, here we go. Let's do this. So now we're going to talk about pure and applied. All right? Okay, let's do this. I'm going to show you the graph. All right. Does anyone know Louis Pasteur? Anyone know Louis Pasteur? Hey, Miss Franzman, long time. All right. Use-inspired fundamental research. Edison, pure applied research. Pure fundamental research, Bohr, right? These are very, very different. So, what does that mean? Well, sometimes, like in quantum mechanics, you're studying things, finger's not still awake, you're studying things and you don't know where your study is going to go. You're not thinking of how it could be applied to anything. So, for example, quantum mechanics in the 1920s are the reason that today we can have cell phones, or in Australia, mobile phones, right? But Niels Bohr and all those people who were studying quantum mechanics in the 20s, they were not thinking of how they could apply it to anything. They weren't thinking that it could be applied to the nuclear bomb. It could be applied to making phones. Could be applied to, the GPS network that we have. They weren't thinking any of that stuff. Those things happened later, because people took their information and then figured, how can we use it, right? Hey, Ashley. Oh, Ashley. Oh, Ashley. All right, so that's pure, right? But then you have pure applied research. Hello. Pure applied research is where you are taking the quantum mechanics and seeing what you can do with it, right? So you're saying, all right, cool, I have this thing. What can I do with it? That's where you get Thomas Edison, who was like, all right, what can I do with X and X and X? All right, I'll make a light bulb, I'll make other things. Alexander Graham Bell made the phone. All right, so these things. Then you have use-driven research. Use-driven research is different as well. So there's like 3 different things now. So use-driven is where, for example, you have a problem, a specific problem, and you want to solve it, and you'll solve it using anything you can find. All right, so for example, penicillin, which Louis Pasteur discovered and was able to cultivate, he was looking for a specific solution to a specific problem. The specific problem was that people were dying of these infections, and there was no way to stop it. So he's like, I got to find a way to stop it. Milk. That's one way, I guess. All right. So there are three different things. One is learning just pure knowledge, just for knowledge's own sake. You have no idea where it's going to take you or if it's going to take you anywhere, right? So that's what I do in theoretical physics and mathematics and stuff. Then you have the Edison version, which is let's take the knowledge and see what we can do with it. And then you have the Pasteur version, which is we know what we want to do, let's find the knowledge that can do it. So hopefully that makes sense. If anyone's stuck, don't hesitate to ask me. Okay. So, where are we? An excellent example of the work Wallace Newcomb's organization. Awesome. All right. So, organic reactions, controversial work was inspired a quadrant. Okay, I've showed you that. So let's move on. By the process of developing commercial products. In the process, he invented nylon, the first synthetic fiber. So, this is the invention of. I'm going to tell you the story of the invention of nylon. All right. So here we go. So what we had was condensation polymers at DuPont, okay? Although this was Wallace Hume Carothers. Carothers was looking for a way to demonstrate the existence of macromolecules using well-known organic reactions. All right? This was controversial. So he was trying to get well-known organic reactions and just create new things. How pretty cool is that? Liran, yeah. So basically, his job was to see what can I create. Now, of course, that can be hello. Hey, what do I call you? Anti-prof, my mirror image professor. Where were we? So basically, you know, some people could try to develop, like in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you know, they were trying to find a cure for, I don't know what it was, for cancer or Alzheimer's or whatever it was. And in the end, it created that virus that killed everyone. Right? So that's one type of research, which can be dangerous. But he invented nylon, the first synthetic fiber. Alzheimer's, okay. Okay. One of the distinctive features of chemistry is its emphasis on synthesis and creating new substances. Synthetic chemists, this is pretty cool because they've been able to make now hearts and lungs using 3D printers, if anyone's seen those. Those things are amazing. They replaced a girl's throat, actually. What they did was, instead of putting in a new throat, they printed a throat after scanning her throat. They printed a new one, took her stem cells and grew all of the cells over the printing of the throat and made a new throat and whacked it back in. And that way there was no problems with having to wait for another throat or the body attacking the throat as a foreign thing. Copy paste, you know, crazy. All right. So synthetic chemists, they do not only make new molecules, because you can make new molecules all the time. It's insane, right? That's where drugs come from. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Comes from replicating reality and making it even more potent, right? And not using organic materials to do it. They can physically put the molecules together using certain reactions, right? Pharmaceutical or material, like the invention of graphene. Has anyone heard of graphene? It's even stronger than carbon fiber. You could basically, you could lace it into your material and become like a super soldier. It's crazy, the stuff that they're inventing now. Okay, so the way to research, right? If let's just take synthetic chemistry. So those guys, hey, the Dome Father, welcome back. So we're talking now about synthetic chemistry as an example for the type of research, right? Okay, so here we go. So, all hail. Some synthetic products, it's only 5:30, are undertaken. All right, where are we? I lost where I was, sorry. Okay, synthetic chemistry. Some synthetic products are undertaken just to make the theoretically or aesthetically interesting molecules. All right. So what they're doing is researching just to make molecules for molecules' sake. Which one is that? Is that the Niels Bohr version? Is that the Louis Pasteur version or the Thomas Edison version? Let's see if anyone remembers. You can just randomly guess. Someone's going to get it right. So studying synthetic chemistry just to make molecules for its own sake. Thomas Edison. All right, we have one for Thomas Edison, we have one for Bohr, we have one for Louis. Completely random. Supernova, congratulations, Bohr is correct. Because it is exactly what you just thought, which is we are doing the research for the research's sake. We are not trying to apply it to anything, we're not trying to make anything, right? It's just to look at the molecules, right? Okay. Well done. Someone was going to get it right. All right. Much synthesis is done in industry, purely applied research. Known reactions are applied to the to the development of practical products. What I want to do once I build up the membership, I'd love to do stuff like at the end of the year, like someone gets like an iPhone's voucher or something. That would be pretty cool. I'd love to do stuff like that, like the Great Hadron Collider. Exactly, Liran, right on the ball as always. All right. This is why Israel is a superpower, by the way, because they're populated by people like Liran. A star on my hand is fine. All right. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so here is another one. How about this? How about if I said to you, you're a synthetic chemist, and I say to you, we need to develop a molecule that can cure cancer. And as long as you're trying to do that, I will fund you. Which one is that? Is that Bohr, Pasteur, or Edison? Louis Edison. Oh no, Pasteur. All right, Admiral and Platinum win this time. It wasn't Edison. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. All right. Wouldn't be funded treatment is more profitable. Tie. It's a tie. Wouldn't be funded treatment is more profitable. Yes. And of course, the Dome Father comes in with a perfect depiction of what actually would happen and kill the hypothesis. This is the problem with intellect, my friend. All right. So that is Pasteur, exactly. Pasteur is when you're funding research specifically for a particular solution. All right, let me give you another example. How about if I said that let's take something that we know from synthetic chemistry and see what it can do. Let's just see what it can do in general. Let's apply it and just see what awesome things we can do with it. Which one is that? I reckon everyone will guess this one now. Let's have a look. Edison. Yes. Well done. Diffusing. Confusing. Edison it is. Edison it is. They're subtle, but there are massive differences. So which one do you think is potentially more corruptible? Edison, yeah. Platinum, me. Which one is more corruptible? Would you say studying for studying's sake? Getting funded to find a specific cure or something like, or solution? Or just seeing what certain things can do, what secret powers they have, which is the Edison one. Which one do you think is more corruptible? Funding. Liran says funding, obviously. Seeing what things can do, funded for the result. All right. Well, let me give you another example. Let's say that for you to study synthetic chemistry for its own sake, you have to test it on chimpanzees because they are the only thing made to do for money. All right. So in light of what everyone's just said, let's say that you're testing for testing's sake, and the only way you can test it, right, this new synthetic molecule, is to test it on chimpanzees. But what it does is it turns the chimpanzee, it actually melts their brain, right? And you know this, but you have to test it on them so that you can just keep seeing what it can do. compromise to get the funds. See, I don't know if this is right or not, but what I'm thinking is that what happens if you have someone who wants to know just for the sake of knowing, who's unbelievably passionate? Happen in funded research. Use mice. It could happen in funded research as long as they are bad chimps. See, what I'm thinking is it depends on your motivation. If you're trying to make money, then that could be, the funded one. Use the monkeys. But if you are studying for studying's own sake and you're just desperate to discover more, selling baby parts has been rationalized, yeah. So I'm not sure about that one. I think it's a bit ambiguous, but the funding one seems to be the obvious answer, yeah. Even though I think it's debatable. All right. It's a good point though. Yeah, thank you. All right. So, hello, Miss Kasha, beautiful eye. The post-war implied contract between science and society is giving way. Money is generally more of a motive than passion for knowledge. Okay. I will trust your judgment on that. It sounds right. The post-war implied contract between science and society is giving way to a new research policy that emphasizes productivity and technology transfer. That's actually quite interesting. Whereas in today's society, it's all about progress, right? What can we do to progress? So, for example, artificial intelligence that is going to wipe everyone out. I'm sure you guys heard over the last couple of days, Alibaba has created the first human-free store where you can walk in, pick up an item, walk out, and it charges your PayPal account or whatever it is automatically. Has anyone heard of that? It was opened a few days ago. You heard about that? Let's see if anyone's heard of it. Amazon did that already. Yes, that's true. But Amazon had to pull it because, they had to pull it back. Actually, they didn't release it publicly because with Amazon they have an additional feature, and that additional feature does not allow more than 20 customers in a store at once. So they had to pull it back. But Alibaba is much more simplified, and there are less things you can do. But that's why it works. Can you unionize machines? Fewer people losing jobs because of this. Oh, they 100% will. 100%. Retail industry is going to get wiped out. So yeah, you can walk in and then the computer tells you what the item is, and if you like, you pick it up and you walk out. You test it. As soon as you walk out of the store, if you go like 20 meters away from the store, it'll charge you the account. So yeah, basically, what's interesting about that is that this is what this is here. New research policy. You can go on the internet and type in Amazon cashless store on YouTube and go on the internet. Customers will kill itself with automation. Yeah. Well, here it is, right? The new research policy emphasizes productivity and technology transfer. So all they care about, or the primary focus, is productivity. Productivity and technology transfer. At that store is long. Imagine, right? They walk in and the robot's like, sorry, get lost. Anyway, where the pre-war was about funding, I refuse to use self-checkout. Oh, that's funny. I use it all the time. So what makes us think that we're moving, no Tifa, what makes us think we're moving in the right direction? Just because we are fulfilling the desire for productivity and technology transfer. Who says that's the right way to go? Hello, we are not. Interesting stuff. Yeah, that's quite interesting. And the robots will start having rights. You can't do stuff to them. All right. Someone has to make the products plus stock shelves. For now, yeah. For now. That'll change. So here we got legislation because of patenting. So here the idea of patenting a concept, that's also a very recent idea. Machines will stock the shelves. Universal basic income discussion, yeah. How would you program an atheist robot? Even though neurotypical my shopping baskets are not typical. Can you repeat the last question? The last thing I was saying, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I was talking about the fact of patenting, the idea of patenting. Is efficiency the goal? Well, it seems to be that way. When you're looking at it from an efficiency perspective, what they're not seeing is the opportunity cost. So what are humans going to do? There should not be one without the other. That's my thinking. Especially now, there's already, I don't know which state in the US, there's one state in the US that has already implemented 5,000 self-driving Uber cars. All right. So next, patenting. Patenting, right? Actually, what patenting did, the idea of patenting, which means if you have an idea, you can make money off that. That's a state to avoid. Yeah, that's a state to avoid. All right. Yeah, but it'll keep coming. So, where are we? Patenting is the idea that you can make money. Yeah, it'll hit the trucking industry, I reckon, when the next... Actually, Liran and I spoke about this. I said 10 years, he was saying 20, because of its interaction with humans. You have patents. Of course you do. You're the dome father, man. What don't you have? Probably got like 10 underground bunkers and freaking... You could survive like nuclear holocaust. I'm coming to you, man, if there's a problem. You won't let me in, though. All right. So, what did patenting do? Patenting caused universities to explode in entrepreneurism, and that creates people. Train the trucks, yeah. That's actually not a bad idea, but yeah, anyway. Not patent. My guy's got a patent. Me. All right. Science suffers an important loss because of the possible tensions with the moral ideal of the gift economy. Bingo. That's what I was just saying. The idea of, like, for example, you look at Elon Musk, right? Now, this is not good or bad at all. I'm not saying, this is just an example that the idea of patenting his technology is, of course, making people look at science from a technology perspective. Now, that's good in a way, because of course he's developing the reusable rocket, which is quite amazing, right? But at the same time, when you only focus on science from that perspective, as opposed to science for its own sake, then you're going to have what we have now, which is an economy just wanting to, yeah, I say patent. You guys say patent? Oh my God, patent. All right, so trust in science. Here we go. I think trust in science has exponentially decreased since science started to try to make money as opposed to discovering things for its own sake. And that's why we have gavversity, where facts don't care about your feelings. As noted earlier, members of the profession are epistemically dependent on each other, so they must trust each other to follow the professional code. Because society depends on scientists as experts in important personal and public discussions or decisions, it must trust that scientists are performing their work with integrity, especially as it affects public health and safety. Patent. I was like, that is it patent? Oh my God, it's patenting? Or patenting? Putin. Putin. Hello, I am Putin. Anyway, I have a new character coming. His name, what was his name again? I forgot. Global warming and vaccines. Yes, absolutely. And the paint, like patent. My God, patent. Hello, I like to patent this, please. So even if the client scientists are right, which I think they are, because that's who I am, but I don't, who cares about the pronunciation? Yay, supernova is back. Even though the climate scientists, I think, are right, but who cares? It doesn't actually matter, because the credibility is just as important. What is the point of the climate scientists doing an amazing, brilliant job if no one believes what they say? And this is what we're having, especially now. You're getting half of America, and this is not a judgment at all. We're just pointing out that there's clearly a problem with credibility, right? And that is a discussion that needs to be had. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. It seems paradoxical that scientific research, right, in many ways the most questioning and skeptical of human activities, should be dependent on personal trust. But the fact is, without trust, the research enterprise could not function. And that was stated by Gerasi in 1991. The world was flat for a long time. Here we go. Trust among scientists and between science and society has eroded over the past 10 years. It's eroded more these days by science changing its position on issues that the public cares about. Yeah. Particularly in the biomedical sciences. I love supernova. I have a feeling supernova is on the spectrum, somewhere close. Research for research sake is usually state funded. No, it was, and it was state funded exactly pre-war. It was state funded for the military. Yes, that's exactly right. Science changing its position on issues, particularly in the biomedical sciences. Debates among scientists about the efficacy of drug therapies, product recalls, inadequate science in the testing are much in the news. I reckon that's because of what you guys were saying, which is that they're getting funded through the Louis Pasteur method, which is we need a solution, get cracking. Yeah. Debates among scientists about the efficacy, blah, blah, blah. Reports of real or alleged scientific misconduct appear regularly in the popular and scientific press. Sake, no motive really. Side effect of drugs. Capitalism, yep, absolutely, absolutely. All right, there is a controversy over how widespread ethical problems in science are. Concern in the scientific community is significant. The National Academy of Sciences in 1992 issued a comprehensive report ensuring the integrity of the research process. For example, scientists and research institutions should integrate into their curricula educational programs that foster faculty and student awareness of concerns related to the integrity of the research process, as if that needs to be taught, as if that's not obvious. Like, if you're not credible, it's like the argument with abortion. If you're a male, right, your credibility is worthless. So it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong or your opinion is informed. Your credibility is worth nothing. This is my argument. Anyway. Oh my God. Anyway, got a bit passionate there. All right. Next is teaching and learning scientific ethics. Traditionally, scientific ethics have been taught informally. By example or in the context, by ethics not objective but subjective science. Seems to be that way. All right. Richard Fineman noted in his Caltech commencement address, "This is the idea we all hope you have learned in studying science in school. We never explicitly say what this is, but just hope you catch on by all the examples of scientific investigation." Feynman. Yeah, Feynman's one of the most famous physicists in modern history. Okay. Contemporary science is much bigger. Of course you do. Of course you do. Faster pace and filled with more complicated issues. Economic pressures are enormous. There you go. Economic pressures are enormous. Research groups are larger, so faculty, advisors, and students have less personal contact. We had 1,500 views. He's fine, man. If this is his name, fine woman. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty smart. Yeah. All right. Stephen King's book, The Stand, is an experiment gone wild. I'm going to have to look that up now that you said it. In addition, opportunities and pressures for commercializing research are increasing. Contemporary science is expensive, so the grant writing process is hugely important and time consuming. Because the scientific workforce is much more diverse, it's not safe to assume that all scientists share a common value base. Well, yeah, we know about that. Media and government scrutiny of science is intense. When I discuss the teaching of scientific ethics with my colleagues and with the public, I hear two major objections. Ooh, I want to know what you guys think of these objections. One, professional ethics is best taught in the research group. Professional ethics is best taught in the research group. And number 2, we can't teach ethics. Either people are moral or they are not. Hey, Troy Ball must be first. Media scrutiny is intense based upon media bias. Yeah, I don't call them the media, I call it, by definition, 1. So you would say that 2, we can't teach ethics, either people are moral or they are not. Some people say 2nd. But that's Kovac. To the first objection, I would respond. So this is now Kovac responding to these objections, right? Kovac says that the research group may be the best place to teach scientific ethics, but that one cannot guarantee either that it will be taught there or that it will be taught well. That's his argument. Such an important aspect of professional education cannot be left to chance. Okay, the second objection. Now, the second objection was people are either moral or they're not. Now, let's see what Kovac replies with. Because I actually think that that's sort of true, but it's on a spectrum. And I've done this on the GAPSMAC scope when I said the spectrum of the autist and the sociopath, whereas they're at opposite ends of the moral spectrum. Then teach the public. I agree with point 1. Well, it's funny because he actually disagrees with point 1. Where are we? Okay, the next point. Point number 2 is about we can't teach morality. This is a long-term joke we have where Dome Father completely disagrees with Kovac. It's quite funny. All right. Kovac would agree that instruction in professional ethics cannot transform a fundamentally immoral person. Only to a certain extent, morality not. On the other hand, even if students come to college as fairly sophisticated moral decision makers in their day-to-day lives, they probably are not skilled at making decisions regarding professional ethics. The two are different. Okay, I don't really know. His answer seems ambiguous to me, because I would perhaps submit that, repeat, yes, you say repeat. Well, basically what he's saying is that someone who is fundamentally immoral, it's vague, correct? If someone is fundamentally immoral, he agrees that you can't teach them. If they're a sociopath or a psychopath, forget it, right? But there are people who you could consider are moral, but in the professional ethics world may not actually have any understanding, so don't know what to do. And therefore, teaching them would be a good thing. Reflects the morality of society as a whole. Yeah, I would agree with that, which is probably why societal morality doesn't seem to be that clear. Ethics and morality are different. Yes. Well, we spoke about the different forms of morality that he defined in our first episode. There was the communistic ones, the utilitarian ones, the deontological ones, and I can't remember the fourth one. Damn it. Amoral. Amoral is independent of morality, which means you may or may not be moral at any given point. Cognitive behavioral therapy, fine-tuning. Yeah, I like that. So fine-tuning versus someone who doesn't even have the moral compass. All right. Here's a question. How do you know when you should disregard a data point or not? So let's say that you're testing a drug and the drug causes cancer in one of the mice out of 100. How do you know if that was a fluke and that mouse was going to get cancer anyway? You know with your job. How do you know that mouse caught cancer or contracted cancer from the drug treatment, or it was going to catch it anyway? Because it was only 1 out of the 100, multiple trials. Yeah, that's right. Let's say you keep going. Let's say it never happens again. Let's say you do it and you now have 10,000 mice and only that one got it. You still don't know, do you? What do? Do you discard that point or do you leave it in? Because here's the thing, if you leave it in, you might not get funding and you might lose your job. If you take it out, then you might be potentially killing people. You pick the assumption which favors your result. Cognitive bias. You have to leave it in, you have to leave it in. What happens if your boss says if you take it out, you're fired? You take the chance, but one recess may not be enough. Assume it was. Do you have a tan? Lol. Yes, I got tan today. Report it. Walk. What happens if you're on a $200,000 job and you're not going to get a job anywhere else? That's why you do double blind. Thanks. You being fired is better than deaths of potential medication users. Only one seems suspicious. I'm a punk ass, so I'm willing to get fired. Well, this is why you guys are all at Gapversity. Otherwise, you'd be at like, I don't know, somewhere in California or somewhere in the US. Principles damn straight. The next one. Do you write a scientific article or do you write a scientific report? This is interesting here in California. Awesome. So, actually, I've got family in California. You report. You write a report or an article. All right. You say write a report. Now, let's say that a magazine comes to you and they want you. Hey, hello, Californians. Welcome. Is Arizona? No, that's another state, isn't it? Article. You'd write an article. All right. Now, because here's the thing: if you write an article, right, it might get more to the masses because the masses read articles. They don't read reports. Who reads a report? White paper. It's bad for business. Huh? Yeah. So if you're writing, you could write an article. If you write an article, then you have these questions. Who should be the co-author? Which results should be included or excluded? How should they be presented? How should the inevitable loose ends be treated? Because it's not a report, so there's always going to be ambiguous points in there. And regular people, like, we're all, let's just assume we're all regular people in some respect, lay people, non-scientists. We're going to read the article, right? And it could be on climate change. Now, there could be one article that says climate change is 100% caused by humans. There could be another one where it says 100% not caused by humans. Who is regular? It depends on how much fiber you have in a day. So how should potential objections be met? What prior work should be cited? Okay. Business ethics coming exactly. And it says here the line, these are all questions in professional ethics. What is regular? Sheldon Cooper will be the lead writer because Cooper is before Gapsmack in alphabet. Very true. All right. So 35 grams per day. Very good. So that's a very interesting thing. Scientific article comes into business ethics. That's a very, very good point. Laboratory practices and safety. By the way, I forget that lady's name, the teacher, the high school teacher. Where is she? Oh, she's... No, she'll go and come back. Supernova. Yes, the high school teacher, Supernova. Oh, Lynn is as well. I didn't know that. No, Supernova is she's cheating because she's a high school teacher. So that's why she knows half of the answers so quickly. Experimental science is full of middle school. Oh, I don't know what that is. Is that like between 7th and 9th grade? In Australia, we call that high school. Sorry. The cigarette companies are a perfect example for unethical business practices in the past. Absolutely. Denying dangers. Absolutely. You know that cigarette companies are massive in like Africa now and the Middle East. That's just freaking horrific, and we do nothing about it. Anyway. All right. Laboratory practices and safety. Pet food companies are so unethical. Experimental science is full of danger. A working scientist has to make decisions concerning the potential hazards of a particular experiment and adopt reasonable safety precautions. Are the potential health and safety risks of a laboratory procedure acceptable? These decisions have an ethical component. That's quite interesting. I'm trying to think of an example here. Time Machine, H.G. Wells. Ah, yes. All right. Often these are treated early as technical issues. The ethical component is ignored. It is important for all scientists, 5th through to 8th. Middle school. Okay. Middle school. I'm going to learn that middle school because that makes no sense. In Australia, that would be primary school, like late years primary and early high school. But middle school makes a lot more sense. How does a company with shareholders have ethics? It's a contradiction. That's exactly right. All right. So here we go. Just Dome Father asks the question, and as always, Kovac is there to answer. And here are Kovac's answers to Dome Father's questions. There are 4 components. Number 1, the ability to identify and articulate the moral dimensions of situations and events, including the recognition that many decisions involve both a technical and a moral component. That's number 1, whatever that means. Number 2, understanding the relevant standards and ideals that govern moral decisions in professional situations. Okay. Number 3, awareness of the moral complexity of real-world situations. As has been nicely stated by Carolyn Whitbeck in 1996, many practical ethical problems call for coping rather than solving. Problems in practical ethics rarely have clean solutions. Usually some moral principle or rule is compromised. That sounds healthy. All right. Learning to see priorities for what they are, to balance them, and to design solutions to complex moral problems should be a major goal of college education. Which college does that? The first 3 are passive skills that are incomplete without a 4th active characteristic. All right. The 4th one, and this is what you guys said when you said you'd walk out of the job. Gabversity, hey, hey. Moral courage, the willingness to make difficult decisions, act on them, and publicly state those decisions and the reasons for them. Bingo. That's what you guys were saying about walking out of the job. The thing is, before social media, you wouldn't be able to do that. I was lucky when I got kicked out of the scholarship for defending people against racism. Bingo. That's when you're the only other person to use that word other than me. I got kicked out for defending people against racism, right? That morals have a price. That's right. I'm very lucky where I could actually say that, and now, like, a few hundred people have seen the videos. Whereas back in the day, just with the propagandist media, you wouldn't be able to say anything. And propagandist does not mean that they're wrong. It means that their agenda does not lie with the truth. It lies with whatever it is. And if they're right as a side effect. But which makes perfect sense because they're funded by advertisers. So of course. Anyway, so while discussions of principles and rules provide a context, professional ethics is best discussed in the context of real-life ethical problems where the broad principles and rules must be specified and balanced to find a practical solution. Phone records. Learning ethics is a lot like learning science. This is the conclusion of Kovac. Theoretical knowledge only becomes real when it is applied to specific problems. Most chemical concepts, abandonment of society, I'd say that. Theoretical knowledge, most chemical concepts are empirical generalizations. Abstract ideas, such as acids and bases, become meaningful examples as their properties and reactions are studied in the laboratory. The remainder of this book is devoted to practical reasoning about ethical problems or cases. All right, that is the end of our lecture on professional ethics. Then we'll talk about cases in the next ones and figure out what we should do and how to deal with those situations. What I am going to do now, absolute pleasure. Love having you guys on. That is another episode of Gabversity, where facts shot feelings multiple times. The feelings did not survive. Not too bad, Kovac. Yeah, it was good. It was a bit of a good one. So now, hey, welcome to Gabversity. Now I am going to go to nowhere and I'm just going to type up my assignments for this subject and get them all done. But without you guys, Gabversity is nothing. Absolute pleasure to see you all. And once again, facts killed feelings and got away with it.